the only one I remember is at 6. Otherwise, it was me though. It does though.
Well, I feel like every other meeting we have is like 6, but council's the one that's later.
7.
Can we just turn this down so we can start?
Yeah. Just have to keep an eye on it in case somebody bops on.
Does it pop up on the screen?
No. So you have to have it a little bit up.
Okay, I can hear it a little bit.
Alright, we can go. Resolution copper.
Hi, Brad. We're just getting
Hi,
ready to
how are you?
Good. We're just getting ready to start. So we'll start with roll call. Chief Manuel.
Present.
Joyce Lopez. Present. Chief Bettis.
Here.
Assistant Chief Gatto.
Present.
Brad Lindbergh.
Present.
Brian Sepla. I am present. We do have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America.
United States of America.
which stands one
One
nation
nation,
under God, indivisible,
and
with liberty and justice for all. Start with the consent agenda. Item 1, approval of the minutes of meeting on September 18th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve?
Approved.
Approved by Chief Pettis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by
I'll
Chief.
second that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to new business.
Aye.
Discussion on quarterly drills. Item 1, discussion on 2025 Q3 drill. Does anybody want to take that? Did we have one?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, with some of the changing on staff on our end, that drill didn't occur. We tried to connect on another date, but we were unable to. So the next agenda item for the Q4 drill, we'll get with Chief Gatto and propose Thursday, the 11th of December.
Okay. So I believe that also covers the discussion on upcoming Q2025 Q4 drill, which you just said was going to be December 11th.
Correct. And we'll check with Chief Gatto to see if that can happen.
Okay. Moving on, item B, discussion possible approval of emergency response plan.
So to go through some of the questions, I don't know who's asking what. So on page 5, we have a question. Is this pre-incident training? I don't know whose question that is. Do you want to elaborate?
The ones in blue will be from Brad Lindgard.
Okay.
There was some on page 2 as well.
Most of those are pretty straightforward. They're just setting dates and stuff. So do you want to address those, or?
Unless somebody has any question on them, I don't have anything on them.
So yeah, the plan, we have to revise it. As far as I can tell, we've never done anything other than minor changes to it. So a regular annual update may make it quicker to get through, just because it'll be less distance between it. I think we haven't done this one for a while.
I'd like to make a comment on that one really quick. Pre-incident training. Comment's going to be, I would like maybe to get our guys somewhere where they can experience underground environment before they're escorted underground, if they have an idea what they're getting into. I don't know if this can happen. I don't know if we can go through the Neverset Tunnel 100 feet in legally, so they know what kind of environment they're going to be in, or some type of situation. I'd like to see how maybe we can make that happen, so people kind of understand what it involves when they go underground.
I think we probably ought to check this with the safety officers to determine whether or not MSHA allows
Yes.
uncertified people underground. If not, new minor for underground is a 3-day training course. A good portion of it's first aid and everything that we don't really need, so it can be shortened to 2 days. But if that's a requirement that we're going to go underground, it's worth doing. It would teach us how to use.
I can help clarify that, if that helps. The resolution would not be looking for the Superior Fire Department to go underground, but we would continue with the transition and handoff from our underground mines rescue team to go in there. From a formal response perspective, however, as a visitor, just to help familiarise your team with some of the entry and exit points, we could certainly accommodate that, and that's certainly a valid part of the agreement, is for police, fire and other services to visit the project site regularly to maintain that familiarisation. So happy to support that, and again, wouldn't require you to respond underground and therefore have the appropriate MSHA training. We would simply show you areas as a visitor for familiarisation, and then maintain the drills and response from a surface perspective.
Okay, so the agreement calls for them to respond to the scene escorted to stabilize patients. Can they do that without MSHA certification, or have we got something in the agreement we can't do?
No, they can attend on service.
I didn't understand.
It's baked in the agreement that it's not for the underground. That the surface, they are okay.
All right, so then 4.8 on page 5 needs to be edited because it's showing that they will be escorted underground to emergency scenes. It's in the agreement. So we'll have to remove that and edit it.
Correct, yeah. So I haven't got the document that you'll look at there, so I'll pull it up.
Okay.
But that's correct. It will have to be edited.
Okay.
So do we want to schedule an annual date for recertification of this report as one of the first things then?
We're gonna have to, right?
Huh?
To recertify this report, or we're gonna have another?
Every year, the question from Brad is whether or not we want to put a date, a scheduled date, like February every year, that we're going to review and approve this report.
I think it's a good idea.
I think what I would suggest, since this is a quarterly meeting, that we say Q1 of every year we will address and recertify and update the report, because we don't meet every month.
I think it'd be a good idea.
So we do have to meet at least every quarter, according to the agreement. So we can leave it that. So are you taking notes for this, Tim, so you can put it into the doc?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the current 5-year plan of operations is not current, as far as I know. You haven't updated your 5-year plan in a while, have you?
No.
Okay. So. And that's, 5-year plan update. Either it takes a very long period of time or you hire a contractor to do it. Last time it was prepared by the contractor hired under phase 1 of the emergency services agreement. So the chiefs will have to go back and see whether you can update this, just the report, if there's things that you can just review and update, or if you have to draft a new one. If so, you'll have to let us know so we can come up with a plan. Yeah, you can update the language for the resolution stuff. I don't think that's a problem. Okay.
Okay.
So, on page 4, there's a question about on-scene medical authority will contact receiving facility destination.
Yep.
So that is, who is T, by the way? Is that you, Tim?
Fire department, yeah.
Okay. All right, so, the communication center, who's the communication center?
So that's the question I had too, because we're the ones that will make that determination of what hospitals are available when we call our medical direction. Our dispatch will usually call the hospitals for us, we do it ourselves, so that's something we'll have to change as well, just so they know that, we'll contact the facility ahead of time and during transport, or before transport.
Does anyone have any problem with that change? Okay. The other item is on page 5. RC property is outside the jurisdiction of Superior Police Department. Pinal County is the sheriff, as the first responder law enforcement. Okay, the responsible law enforcement responder to law enforcement incidents on the RC property. That is just a statement of legal fact. This is Pinal County jurisdiction. We have not annexed this property into town limits. So we respond on a mutual aid basis and stabilize the scene. When Pinal County Sheriff comes over, it is their jurisdiction. They have the legal right to take it over. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
What was that?
I said thank you.
Oh, okay. On page 7, Brad, you have a question about LEX Oak Flat expectations. Do you want to expand on that?
Yes, for sure. And this is, sort of goes back to the conversation just prior about project familiarisation. We've been able to complete one or two of those over the past couple of months. So just confirming that as we progress closer to land exchange, if there's any changes in the areas, we'll use available time to get the chiefs and the teams through areas that we think are good to inspect from the risk of any access issues.
Is there anything that needs to be addressed in the plan for that?
No, just
Just
that was more just a comment in there. I think the one further down in it's actually on page 8. When we edit the document, we make just add federal and state regulated, just to clarify the expectations around training, which we sort of also talked about from an insurer perspective earlier.
Okay. Do you have that note, Tim?
Yep, got it.
All right, and then again, we have the other question, 5.1. It says verify plan. What does that mean?
So the plan looks at the NFPA and Firefighter 2 certification, and it talks through that paragraph about the certifications for firefighters 1 and 2. So just the confirmation of status of that level, and as it is in the plan, just wanted to check in with Chief to see where we're at, and again check for currency and adequacy for training, certification, qualifications.
So as a note, this will be for responding onto your site. It's not a, we hire young people to be trainee firefighters, cadets all the time. So they do not start with their certification. They get trained to them. So really what this is referring to is responding onto your site. So if we need to clarify that, that's fine. But firefighter 1 and 2, there's no requirement in state law or in town code for when the fire department hires reserves for them to be certified upon hire. You hire them untrained and then you can train them in. So we want to make sure there's space for that in the chief's plans, but they won't be responding on site to resolution in that case.
Yeah, I think that was part of the discussion, and my comment was to work through the chief and understand current status and the reality of that, because it is quite an expectation, and if it's in the agreement, then we should be working to the agreement, and so I think that's the point for the discussion. Doesn't have to be in this meeting, but when we do the edits through there, maybe they're on a direction of. But understanding the challenges with the expectations for qualifications there.
Yeah, and that's and to be clear, that's in order for a reserve program to function, it has to function that way. So it's not something that we can say that all of our guys are going to start fully certified. They'll work toward it. We have a plan. We have a procedure in our department that within 1 year they will get Fire 1 and 2. Within 2 years they will get EMT, and then they'll get Fire 1 and 2 within 2 years total. So there's a plan to work them towards their full certification, but it's just reserve programs, you have to train your own or you don't have anybody. So we'll have to address that in the bigger conversation. I do believe in the final emergency services agreement, it has a reference to it, but it does not require them to be fully trained. It requires them, if they respond on site, to be fully trained in the agreement itself. So I think the plan doesn't really line up with the agreement. I'd have to check the language though.
Yeah, we need to check, I think it's up to Fire 1,
Yep.
I believe, so.
Yeah.
We
So,
should check on that.
yeah, and it's like I said, it's great for them to respond to fire scenes and things like that, but every firefighter on a fire department will be working towards Fire 1 and 2, but they don't start that way. You train them into it.
Great. So that's instead, I think we just need to adjust and make sure that it's aligned to the current reality, because it's basically stating there that all Superior Fire Department fire personnel will be certified as that. So I agree with your comments and feedback, and that's why I flagged it to review that.
All right, and then so keeping us moving, I guess. We've already discussed the 5-year plan. The chiefs are going to have to look into that. So has everyone? So are we getting site hazard on a yearly basis? Originally, we were doing a large hosted training all at once, and then follow-up trainings for anyone who missed that. I don't know. Are we still doing that?
Not for the full MSHA. I think that we have done that before, but this is, a lot of this looks like it's a site hazard.
Right, they were doing a site hazard visit before.
Right, and that one we are keeping up with. Alexis usually gets hold of me on that, and her group, and we'll get our guys in there and we try to keep up on that one. And I know we just did a few recently, and I'm not sure if everybody is 100%, but everybody's been updating that the last couple months.
Yep.
So there is a rule in MSHA, if you respond less than 5 times up there, if you're on site less than 5 times a year, you don't have to be MSHA certified or even site hazard. You're just a visitor. But it's in our best interest to make sure our guys are familiar. So if we have a firefighter who's responding to an emergency scene and there's a patient down and they haven't had the site hazard yet, they can still respond according to MSHA. But it is because we respond up there, we expect to be up there more than 5 times a year. We should get the certification so that we can be on the right side of things. But I just don't want to set an expectation that you have 2 guys in an ambulance, they show up at the gate, one of them doesn't have site hazard, and so the ambulance has to turn around. That's not the way it works.
No, that's absolutely correct. And just to clarify, this is just for the roughly 20 minutes site hazard training, not the MSHA new miner or experienced miner. So this is just for our site hazard training. So I think the area here to work with is just with Chief Police. We can come down to the station to help do that sort of training process. So happy to support there. And then, yeah, with fire department as well as needed.
Alright,
Good.
so the, down to drills, quarterly training, Tim, you wanna take that, or?
Yeah,
JP?
but it's kind of more of a discussion thing, I believe, you know, we're doing these drills, and the quarterly drills, we get them going, you know, we'd like to do more trainings and drills every time. I mean, it kind of discusses both, but we keep getting these surprise drills, you know, and they're not very productive really, because, you know, we just go do a drill with everybody, but we don't train with each other, so we don't really know what each other's doing or capabilities are, and we've had some pretty rough ones. You know, so these drills, if we can do some trainings as well. I know during COVID, we did some online training together, and then they were trainings, and I think they were a lot more productive than just showing up and, you know, and working with each other on a chaotic scene. If, you know, if we could do more drills or trainings rather than do one drill, you know, after doing several trainings every year, I think it would be more productive. I think, we'd come out ahead on it.
A suggestion would be training, tabletops and drills,
Mm-hmm.
cause tabletops are effective too, and, you know, just doing a straight drill doesn't seem to be, it's harder to get put together also.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brad, you had something to say?
I disagree with you, Tim. I think I'd like to work towards an annual schedule for 2026, and work with you guys on the drill criteria and focus points, and have it much more structured, because on both ends you can be a lot more productive and proactive that way. So, agree.
One thing that you could consider is a major mock incident once a year and several trainings to get prepared for that throughout the year, so. Alright, so maybe Tim's gonna have to figure out how to write this into the agreement. So, he'll have to add a sentence saying that that the committee will meet at least once yearly this training committee will meet once yearly to set a schedule and to decide on the nature and the content of the drills, and then bringing it back to the committee for approval.
Okay,
I can do that.
got it.
Section to review your safety, environmental, personnel, maintenance records for apparatus and equipment. It's up to you guys. I don't know how long this will take or anything else, or what your current records, the status of your current records are. I'm speaking about page 9, 522, the comment there. To my knowledge,
Okay, so
I haven't heard this happen. Have we done this in the past?
I don't believe so, I haven't.
I don't think we ever went through our maintenance records or anything. We have them because we maintain our equipment, but we've only ever had a meeting about, where we stand with maintenance records, health and safety. We do our physicals every year as well, through HeartFit, so we have those records, but I don't think we ever met and talked about it. Do we wanna do
Yeah,
that?
certainly open on scheduling wise, whatever works out. I think it's a good opportunity, fits with the other sort of training discussions, but I think once we get through some of those other revisions above, we can then determine this point, I think.
I would say that there's a certain amount of industry knowledge that I don't know that regular health and safety is going to have. NFPA is it's a huge chunky manual that has a whole bunch of stipulations that the fire departments know which ones are relevant, which aren't, and Generally, the references aren't even available for you to find. If you were to purchase the references, they'd be ungodly expensive. So this might be a little bit ambitious. So I just would like to set expectations that we come, that it's a meeting to discuss the records that we have, the necessary safety guidelines, and you know, not an expedition to look for standards that don't really apply. So, I mean, we look for, we have NFPA emergency, that our trucks have to meet a certain standard for maintenance. We have to keep certain records. They go to special techs that keep those records and produce those records for us. The turnouts, they get inspected and say in-house. We have the health fit, the heart fit safety stuff. All that sort of stuff is very standard. The OSHA compliance for fit testing for masks and things. But if you were to pull out the NFPA standards for fire trucks and try to go through that, we'd be there for 6 weeks, and none of our trucks can meet the NFPA guidelines, and they're guidelines, not standards. So there's the NFPA guidelines are to a certain extent aspirational. They have a whole bunch of guidelines that only Type 1 departments actually can meet. Regular rural departments cannot meet the vast majority of the stuff. They just don't have the staff, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the budget. It's just, that's why it's a guideline, not a standard.
Yeah, I agree on the intent there, and that was sort of my comment and question around there was, yeah, to look at the schedule. I know they haven't been done since I've been here at Resolution, so again, if it's in the agreement, that's why it's a good time to look at it and look at the wording and make it fit the purpose for what we are doing or what we're going to plan to do. So, agreed. I think that the intent around that was just a more check-in, like you said, on those ARBA records, but certainly not. We're not the SMEs on the fire apparatus. So, agreed.
All right. Sounds like a reasonable thing to do, and we'll have to schedule that.
So is that something we're just gonna leave in there like it is as such?
Yeah, but we ought to perhaps schedule it like we do if we do a update this plan on Q1, you know, by Q2 we have our drill plan, by Q3 we have reviewed apparatus. We could put some timelines in there so we have some idea what we're supposed to meet.
Right, and just on the biannual, you know, that could be a little, much maybe, you know, most of the things we do, I mean, other than our truck maintenance, everything else is annually. Our physicals are annually, our fit testing is annual, flow testing, everything else is just on an annual basis, not more than that.
And there is another issue that technically, like for instance, we should be flow testing all our hydrants. We do not flow test the Resolution hydrants. So that system up there, we've never put a hose to that I know of. And there's a dedicated hydrant system up at the East Plant.
Yes, there is.
And there are, I believe there's some there's only 1 or 2 hydrants in the West Plant. But we probably ought to be flow testing all of the hydrants up there as well, at least once, to know they work. We also aren't doing, you know, we aren't, there's facilities up there, hazmat laydowns and things like that we should be pre-planning. And we've never done that either. So
I think so far we got locations of hydrants at the East Plant and the West Plant.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if Resolution was gonna test them on their site and let us know what they are, or we gonna go up there, but I know Tim's been heading that team to do that, so maybe we can check theirs as well, or Resolution can check the hydrants and let us know what they got.
So I do want to make sure we understand that the emergency response plan is just a plan. It's not the contract. It does require us in the contract to adopt a plan, but a plan is just a plan. It's not a binding document, right? So there are stipulations in our contract, so when we write our plan, we just wanna make sure we're not contradicting the contract in any way. So, you need to go through and reference it, and look at these items, and see what the contract says about when we meet and when we do things. Cause it is a separate issue.
So can we move to approve with the edits that were discussed so that we can take care of, or does he have to make that and then we come back and?
There's some questions there that we haven't answered yet, like the, 5-year plan. Is it up to date? What are we gonna do about that? Do we need to have that answer before we adopt it? And since Brad brought that up, that would be a question for him.
So,
Yeah, I think it'd be good to work through those, answers, for the plan and read, so as you say, between the agreement and this is the plan obviously has some more flexibility. I've checked back on the agreement, seems pretty well aligned, but, I agree with your point there. I think, let's allow that time to just double check from the plan back to the agreement and, review it for approval in the next meeting.
Alright?
Yep.
Sounds like a plan.
alright,
Doug, one question, is there anything we need to change on the, biannual compliance meeting?
I think I would agree with you on that one, Tim. I think we haven't been doing that for the last couple of years that I know of, and I think biannual is, for what that is describing is probably, probably a bit too much. So I think annual is
I agree.
okay, from our perspective. And I think with the schedule and other improvements we're talking about, for the plan, that will help support, equipment review and all those discussions as well. So good with that. Thank you.
I agree.
Okay,
alright, everybody good on that one?
Yes.
Okay, so moving on, item C, discussion of pay studies for police and fire. We could start with Raymond.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So I was tasked to put together a pay study for our department. And I included 8 agencies on the comparisons. And some of these agencies have a small population from 500 people to 24,000 in Florence Police Department, Florence, Arizona, sorry. And so I went, I came up with different comparisons in each agency and compared to ours. And the closest department that I was able to identify was Wilcox Police Department. Wilcox has a department of 11 sworn officers, and they have a budget of $1.3 million in 2025. Actually, in 2024, they had 1.8, so there was a reduction of their budget the following year. And so that is a comparable that we use. We also use the comparable of what officers are getting paid at the 8 other departments. Again, Wilcox was almost identical to our pay right now, which starting officer is $25.12, compared to our department, which is $25 an hour. And sergeants, they are getting paid $27.63 compared to ours, which is $29. So a little bit less in Wilcox for the sergeant, but almost the same for an officer. Another department that we looked at that was comparable was Courtside. Courtside officers there are starting off at $28.84 and sergeants at $31.72, compared to again our $25 starting pay and $29 for sergeants. In Courtside right now, which is, their budget right now is $2.1 million, so it's a little, probably about $900,000 more than our budget here in Superior. I did point out, again, it's, I compared Florence, Payson, Globe, Parker, Wilcox, Quartzsite, Miami, and Hayden. Those are the departments that I did my pay study with, so if you take a look at the information provided, you'll be able to get a breakdown of the pay and population of each town. Another thing that I also submitted was just a 3% annual step progression for officers and sergeants, starting from our $25 an hour for an officer and $29 for a sergeant. Year 1, year 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 7, which is where we would top off at. 7 years is usually about the average of a top off for agencies, for the officers. On our current salary, we would top off at year 7 at $29.85 and $34.63 for sergeants. Right now, you know, we do have our police force is put together with, we have 4 officers and 2 sergeants, 1 SRO, and a chief of police. We do have 2 current positions open right now, which is going to be our code enforcement and our other patrol officer position. We have recommendations of 7 officers and 3 sergeants and 1 SRO, 1 chief, and a code enforcement. So it's a change of adding 3 officers, 1 sergeant to our force. In addition, I know I didn't put this information, but this is something with our administrative staff too. We would include them in this pay study too. The last step was chief salaries, just a comparison of chief salaries that I compared to the 8 other agencies. Florence, obviously being the most populated, starts her chiefs at $146,196. Payson 140, Parker 135, and Globe 129,602. Quartzsite is at 114,753, and Wilcox, again, which was very similar to our town and our agency, is at 113,000 for their chief. And Hayden at 88, and Miami would be at 75,000. So that's just an idea of our step study that we did, our pay study that we did. You know, this is just a piece of a lot of things that we are going to put together to provide in the next 6 months, I'm assuming.
So to clarify the intent and purpose of this meeting, or this item, we have to update our contract for the terms of the EIS and the mutual, mitigation agreement between the town and Resolution Copper 6 months after, I believe, record of decision or land exchange. I keep getting confused on what the trigger is. But that is a fairly tight timeline to come up with a whole new plan to increase the size of our staff significantly. The EIS mentions almost doubling the size of the fire department and adding at least 50% to the police department. So these are big jumps. And at our current pay rates, we struggle to fill positions now. We're not competitive. So the intent of the pay study is to look at what everyone else is paying and what the amount we would need to raise our rates so that we could attract new hires. And this is just the first step. We're just doing the study now. The chiefs will then go back, work through what the next step will be, discussing what the structure of the department has to be to bring on these new hires. So if we have if we're gonna readdress the response times and the response plan and the chain of command and determine if we have 3 officers, do we need an extra admin for the department, things like this, so that the structure makes sense and we don't add out employees that we don't have span of control over. So that'll be the next step. And then after that, the chiefs will bring back an integrated plan for staffing. And it will integrate this rate study, it will integrate the personnel study, and then we'll have a plan of exactly what it's gonna cost to staff at the level we need to staff to meet the terms of the EIS and of the mitigation agreement. So those are gonna be the steps over the next few months. And this committee has several gaps in its meeting schedule, so we'll be meeting in January. In January, we'll be discussing the staffing level, and then at the next meeting after that, we'll try to integrate all this information into one plan and an actual budget. So it's a lot of work to get done in the next 6 months, especially over the holidays. And if the EIS is approved, or if the land exchange is approved in the spring, which is possible, then we need to be ready to start renegotiating the contract immediately, because the clock starts at 6 months. So this seems like it's way out, but we need to plan now so that we're not behind the 8 ball and scrambling and making mistakes when we actually adopt the agreement. So that's the intent, that's the purpose, that's why we're having this conversation. And then, sorry, Chief Perez, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll mention what we did. Since Chief Gatto and Captain Barton did the study, they did a pretty good job at it. We picked 9 fire departments. Try to get something close to it, similar to what we do. Real quick, Kearney and Winkleman are volunteer departments. Kearney does have an ambulance, but their ambulance guys don't do fire. Globe, they have fire, they don't transport. Tri-City does for them. Superstition is pretty close to us. We use their pay rates. So we try to compare ourselves to Tri-City Fire Department. They're a district and they cover a couple of communities up there. But their pay rate is, I'm gonna start off with the EMT is a little bit higher than ours, and they do transport, and their firefighters that run ambulance also fight fire. We do the same thing. Our ambulance guys do fight fires as well, and then they do the ambulance service. But you go across the pay study, I say like for Superstitions, the start we got was $23.19 an hour. Superstition Fire Medical District. We start at $16.46. Tri-City starts at $17.51. Superior, the lowest paid department in the 9 communities we picked. And for all we do, I think it's that's pretty low. And we want to attract people to our community. We want to attract people to our fire department. We want them to be part of something that is probably going to grow as the community gets bigger. And in order to do that, like anywhere else, you know, you got to show them the pay what it is and the opportunities they have to grow. So Tri-City was probably the closest to what we do, and similar in all operations. And I know that Tri-City does like a 10-step program on pay increases. And they have different pay rates for like lieutenants. We don't have that. We have me, the chief, assistant chief, and 2 captains. And if we grow bigger, we're gonna have to make sure we have more staffing, another captain, and as you grow bigger, an administrative person will help a lot, because there's a lot of stuff we do on the administrative side that is checks on equipment, there's a lot of stuff you gotta do to keep up with fire for, like say for instance, wildland, there's a lot of things you gotta be certified in to do. So as you grow bigger, it's gonna be tough, but I think if we could be more attractive to people starting off in this business, I think we'll get some people coming out to get on board the Superior Fire Department. Tim, anything to add to that? Nope. Okay.
So one of the things we will have to do in our planning is implement a scale. The town hasn't had a scale for 20 years.
Yep.
And it makes us extremely uncompetitive, especially for retention. It also means hiring new people is more expensive, because even if we adopt a new hire rate that's lower than what our current employees are making, we can hire people in, and still hire them with the intent that they will get to the higher positions later, but we don't have to hire them at, whatever our current average rate is for our guys. If you look at an officer who's been here 9 years, he's making exactly the same amount as the guy who's been here 1 year. And that doesn't encourage retention. It doesn't inspire guys to stay here. So we have to fix that. It's going to be an expensive fix. When you do a change like that hasn't been implemented at all, means we're going to have to adjust everybody already on the scale to at least some extent. And the chiefs and I have begun to start working on that. We may have to set a low enough entry rate that we can still attract, but that we don't jack up everybody who's currently on the rolls. We do have a bit of an advantage right now in that some of our departments are fairly new. We have a lot of 1 year and 2 year guys. So this may be the time to do it. We don't have any funding to do it on our own right now. It just isn't in the cards. So if we do transition this agreement, as pay scale will be one of the asks that we're going to be putting in for a resolution to be able to do it. I've done some rough math, just switching over somewhere between $200 to $300, $400,000 to switch over to a scale right now as we sit. So, but if we don't do that, we're never going to be able to attract quality people and keep them. So, absolutely necessary step, but it's going to be a challenge to figure out, and the chiefs and I are going to have to work on that for the next 3 or 4 months.
Any questions?
Any other comments, questions from anybody? And then moving on, item D, discussion of earmark on the fire truck.
All right, I'll start by just giving you the news. Senator Kelly's office did advise us that we have been approved. Both Senator Kelly's and Gallego put us forward this year. To give you an idea how big a deal this is our 6th application for the fire truck. We've been trying since 2021 to get the fire truck funded. So this is a pretty big milestone. It is funded for every year when we resubmit it, we update the pricing. It was funded for $718,000, which is the max we can do with the match we're required to get for, we have to, if you put in an earmark, it has to conform to the guidance on the program you're applying for. In our case, it's an USDA program, and so it's about a 75-25 is the max. More likely we're going to be a 65-35 breakdown. So one of the things we can try for is Colonia funding to make that match. We can make that ask, but it just depends on how many people have accessed Colonia money this year. Colonia, for those who don't know, any community within a certain distance of the border gets access to this group fund, a grant fund for border affected communities. And we are close enough to qualify. We've gotten Colonia money 3 times, primarily for the wastewater treatment plant. So it's a good funding source if we can access it. The cost, the chief updated the bids. If we can pay cash, if USDA will give us the money up front and then allow us to buy the vehicle and wait for its delivery, it will save us $136,000. So we either pay 1.13 or we pay $1 million flat, depending on whether they give us the money up front or make us pay the money when the vehicle comes. So we will have to have that discussion with USDA. What happens now is I have to contact USDA. I filled out all their paperwork previously, but it was in 2022. I'll have to update all the paperwork, jump through all their hoops, get the program refunded through USDA, and then they will tell us the terms. They'll send us a contract, the council will approve the contract, and we'll know how much money we have to come up with. it could be anywhere between $300,000 to $450,000 we'll have to come up with. And again, we'll try for as many grant sources as we can, but we may have to just go for that money from somewhere. So we can finance it and pay it out of the emergency services contract, or we can ask Resolution directly to help us pay for it. And they have been, we've had this conversation many times. Resolution is definitely planning to help us with the fire truck, but we're going to do our best to make that a low number. So we're a ways away before we make the ask, but when we find out from USDA what our terms are, then we will take it back to Resolution, and we will negotiate that agreement. What our agreement says, the agreement says that Resolution will pay the costs of NFPA compliance, of the direct cost of the contract. NFPA compliance for the fire truck is directly referenced in the contract. It says we will be NFPA or ISO compliant. NFPA requires the first out truck at least to be 25 years or younger. The second truck can be an antique that has two wheels. They don't care as long as the first truck meets NFPA for ISO. So that's our compromise, but we do have to have at least one truck that's younger than 25 years. I believe we're 27 and 28 years old right now.
Yep.
So we are out of NFPA compliance. It's $1 million problem. It's not something that would wave a magic wand and make go away. But now that we're funded for $718,000 after an extreme amount of work, we only have to come up with a match. And again, worst case, we can finance that and pay the payment out of emergency services. But Resolution has indicated that they are planning to help us with the truck. Anybody have any questions about that? I would like to make clear that the truck won't get here for 3 to 4 years.
Yes, I just, they call on that, I just talked to one of the salesperson. It's, average 4 years, once you order it, to get that truck. The sooner the order, the better, if not, the pricing will change probably come January, gonna go up again. So this is something we gotta get taken care of, and, get this thing ordered as soon as possible, so it'll be here, hopefully less than 4 years, but 4 years is the average time to get a fire truck, that we ordered. It's been spec'd out. Me and Chief God went over it again today. We had a few questions, but you got a good truck coming once you order it.
The only thing that comes to my mind is the delay to get this truck means that your first out trucks are going to be 32 and 31.
Yep.
So we are going to have to look in the meantime for a used truck to swap out with our fleet. So about $100,000 probably we're going to have to budget to purchase a vehicle that is 15 years or younger, so we can get through that period. And that will help us get through the next cycle. It takes 10 years, apparently, to get a fire truck funded. So if we get the first vehicle in 5 years, and we have a vehicle that's 20 years old at that point, it will be already out of compliance before we can afford to replace it again. So definitely, we will have to talk to our partners, our larger agency partners, and see if they're retiring anything from their fleet, anything in the next couple of years. Doesn't have to be today, but anything in the next couple of years, so we can get something newer. That's how we got our last one. Mesa sold us a very nice truck for $10,000. So, I mean, it had a lot of miles on it, but it's still serving us just fine.
Yep, working, some maintenance is kept on it, and it's working as it should.
And we've had that for, I believe, 13 years, roughly. I think,
Maybe
12
less.
years.
No, you know what, you might be right, close to that. I'm not sure on that one.
I mean, so if we can get another one of those, we can get through the construction period. But we do have to start that conversation with all our agency partners to see if we can find one.
Any other questions, comments on that? Carry on. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.